The Federation controlled more than 3,000 star systems. They had built their empire over millions of years. Their ships were fast. Their weapons were powerful. Their scientists understood things that human minds could barely grasp. They were supposed to be unstoppable. Now they were dying. The distress signal came through at 0300 hours ship time. Commander Lisa was in the observation deck when the message arrived. She stood looking at the darkness of space, thinking about her daughter on Earth. Emma was 5 years old. Lisa had missed her birthday 3 months ago. She missed a lot of things because of her job in deep space. The alert chimed. Lisa turned from the window and walked to the communications station. Officer Hayes sat there with his hands shaking. That was not normal. Had been in the deep space fleet for 12 years. Lisa had never seen him scared. "Commander, we are receiving a Priority 1 distress signal," said. His voice was quiet. "It is coming from space." "Space," Lisa repeated. She moved closer to the screen. "What do they want?" "They are asking for help," said. He turned to look at Lisa. His face was pale. "Commander, they are scared. I have heard many distress calls in my career. I have never heard fear like this." Lisa leaned over the console and listened to the message herself. The voice came through the speakers. The alien's translator made the words sound strange, like a human speaking, but not quite right. "This is Federation Command. All human vessels in range, this is an emergency call. A biological force is consuming our worlds. It is called the Necrosis Swarm. Nothing we have tried has stopped it. Our weapons fail. Our shields fail. Our people are dying. We ask for aid. We beg for aid. If you have any technology, any knowledge, any strength, please respond. Colonies are falling every hour. Please respond." The message repeated 3 times, then stopped. Lisa stood still. Around her, other officers watched. Nobody spoke. The Federation had rejected humanity's request to join the Galactic Council 15 years ago. They had called humans too violent, too primitive, too dangerous. They had told humanity to stay in their small corner of space. Now they were asking for help. "Wake up the captain and the senior staff," Lisa said. "Conference room now." 30 minutes later, Captain Cole sat at the head of the table. He was a hard man with cold, blue eyes. He had seen combat in 7 different systems. Lisa respected him because he did not waste time with unnecessary words. "They rejected us," Cole said. "It was not a question." "They did," Lisa confirmed. 15 years ago, they said we were not ready for galactic society. "And now they want our help," said Dr. Moore. She was the fleet's chief science officer. Her gray hair was pulled back tight. "This necrosis swarm is real. I have heard rumors. The species lost contact with 5 colonies in the last month. The Empire reported similar losses. Everyone thought they were exaggerating. They would not let this happen if it was not truly catastrophic." "We do not owe them anything," said Lieutenant Johnson. He commanded the fleet's weapons systems. "They treated us like children. They told our government that humans could not be trusted in the greater galaxy. Some of our people wanted to go to war because of their insults." "We could ignore the signal," Cole said. "We could turn around, head back to Earth, tell the government that they did not show us respect, so we showed them none." Lisa felt the weight of the moment. She looked at each officer. All of them were waiting to see what she would do. The captain was the official commander, but Lisa held the diplomatic post. These decisions would fall to her. "I want to know what we are facing," Lisa said. "Dr. Moore, what can you tell me about this necrosis swarm?" Pulled up data on the main screen. Images appeared showing infected worlds. Cities were gone. Forests were gone. The ground itself seemed corrupted, turned dark and wrong. "The reports are incomplete," said. "But the pattern is clear. This is not an invading force in the traditional sense. It is biological. It consumes everything organic and converts it into more of itself. They describe it as a plague, but it is intelligent. It moves with purpose. It adapts to defenses. Nothing conventional has worked against it." "How long before it reaches human space?" Cole asked. "Unknown," said. "But if the swarm is moving outward from territory at any consistent speed, we have maybe 6 months, perhaps less." Lisa stood up and walked to the window. The stars looked cold from here. She thought about Emma again. She thought about Earth, about green forests and blue oceans. She thought about the billions of people who lived there and depended on the space fleet for protection. "If we do nothing," Lisa said slowly, "this swarm will eventually come for us. They will fall. Then the other species around them will fall. Then it comes for Earth." "So we go," Cole said. "We go because it protects us." Government response came in less than 6 hours. The answer was yes, humanity would help. Within 48 hours, the fleet received new orders. All ships were to change course towards space. All research facilities were instructed to begin studying the limited data available about the necrosis swarm. The military budget was increased immediately. Weapons manufacturers were told to produce everything they could make. Captain Cole stood in the engineering section of the main command ship. Around him, humans worked with focused intensity. Engineers checked systems. Mechanics repaired damage from months in deep space. Technicians loaded weapons and ammunition. There was no talking. There was no joking. Everyone understood what was at stake. Cole walked to the chief engineer, a woman named Tors. She had grease on her hands and sweat on her forehead. She had been working for 30 hours without sleep. "How long until we can push the engines to maximum?" Cole asked. "Did not stop working. The main drive needs another 4 hours of testing. The secondary systems are ready now. We can move fast, Captain, maybe faster than these ships have ever moved." "Do it," Cole said. "I want every system ready for combat in 2 hours." Nodded and returned to her work. Dr. Moore was in a different section of the ship. She sat in the research laboratory surrounded by screens and data. Her team of 6 scientists worked around her. They were studying the limited information about the necrosis swarm. They had samples from infected worlds. They had reports from the Federation. They had video files showing what the swarm did to cities and forests. His hands moved across the keyboard, pulling up images and analyzing patterns. One of her team members, a young scientist named David, came to her with a cup of coffee. "You need to rest," David said. "We all do." "They have not rested in weeks," replied. She did not take her eyes off the screen. "Billions of them are facing death. We can work without sleep." "We will work better if we have some rest," David said. "We cannot help anyone if we make mistakes because we are tired." Knew he was right, but she also knew the pressure of time. "In 4 hours," she said. "We rest in 4 hours. Right now, I need to understand how this organism spreads. I need to find its weakness." The entire fleet moved with new purpose. Soldiers trained in new tactics. Supply ships loaded equipment and food. Communications specialists worked to improve contact with the Federation. For the first time in human history, every ship in the fleet moved toward the same goal with complete unity. Commander Lisa coordinated with the military command. The communication delay was almost an hour, which made real conversations impossible. Instead, Lisa sent data packages asking specific questions. How fast was the swarm moving? What had they tried so far? Were there any survivors in the infected zones? The responses came back slowly. They seemed surprised by how organized the human response was. In their messages, Lisa could read something that had not been there before. It was respect. They were beginning to understand that humanity was not primitive. Humanity was just different. On the 7th day of mobilization, the entire fleet was ready for combat. 27 major ships, 35 support vessels, 140 fighters, 50,000 human soldiers, scientists, and crew members, all of them prepared to face something that had destroyed civilizations. Captain Cole held a briefing for all military officers. They gathered in the main conference hall. Their uniforms were clean. Their faces were focused. Cole stood at the front with Moore beside him. "In 8 hours, we will reach the outer edge of space," Cole said. His voice was loud and clear. "When we arrive, we will face a threat unlike anything we have encountered. This threat is biological. It learns. It adapts. Our conventional weapons may not work." The officers listened without moving. "We are going to fight a war that we do not fully understand yet," Cole continued. "But I want every one of you to remember something. They rejected us. They called us primitive. They told us we were not ready, but they called for help and we answered. When this is over, the galaxy will remember that Earth sent its best to help those in need. We will not let them down." Moore stepped forward. "The necrosis swarm is dangerous, but it is not magic. It is biology. Something alive can be studied. Something alive can be fought. My team is working on solutions right now. By the time we reach combat, we will have better information. Some of you will not come home. I want you to know that your sacrifice will not be wasted." The officers did not cheer. They did not make loud sounds. Instead, they sat in silence, understanding the weight of what was coming. In the crew quarters, soldiers prepared their personal items. Letters were written to families on Earth. Messages were recorded for children and partners. Some soldiers wrote poetry. Some wrote instructions about what to do with their belongings. Others simply sat quietly and thought about home. One young soldier named William stood looking out at the stars. He was 23 years old. He had joined the fleet because he wanted to protect Earth. He had never thought he would be protecting the entire galaxy. His bunkmate, a woman named, came and stood beside him. Scared, asked. Yes, said. He did not try to hide it. You. Yes, said. But I am also ready. I have been trained for this. My entire life has been leading to this moment. My mother asked me not to join the military, said. She was scared I would die in combat. I told her that was the price of protecting people. I did not understand then how much I would mean it. The first sign of the necrosis swarm appeared on the scanners at a distance of 2 million kilometers. It looked like a dark cloud. The readings showed movement, organization, and something that should not exist. The swarm was alive. It was growing. It was conscious. Captain Cole stared at the main display screen. The cloud expanded slowly, consuming the space in front of it. Inside the cloud, entire star systems were disappearing. How large is it? Cole asked. A technician named George Wilson checked his instruments. Approximately 800,000 kilometers across, Captain, and it is still growing. That is larger than our entire fleet range, Colonel Sarah Bishop said. She commanded the fighter squadrons. We cannot engage something that size with conventional attacks. We do not need to destroy it, Dr. Moore said. She had been monitoring the scans. We need to understand it first. Every organism has a weakness. We need to find what the swarm cannot tolerate. The fleet moved cautiously closer. They did not attack. Instead, they observed. Sensors recorded everything. The swarm did not immediately attack the human ships. It seemed not to notice them at all. Commander Lisa sent a message to the Federation asking about safe zones. A response came back indicating that the Planet 7 was still holding out. The colony had 3 million inhabitants. The swarm had surrounded the planet but had not yet landed. Change course, Lisa ordered. We are going to 7. We are going to help them survive long enough for us to develop a strategy. The fleet moved toward the planet at full speed. Behind them, the swarm moved in the same direction, as if following their path through space. When they arrived at 7, the damage was already catastrophic. The northern continent was already consumed. The southern continent still had life, but the sky was dark with the advancing swarm. The planet looked like it was slowly turning into something alien and wrong. The military commander, a being called High Commander Vex, established communication. Vex was not humanoid. He had a crystalline body that reflected light in strange ways. His translator made his voice sound like breaking glass and wind. You have arrived, Vex said. We did not truly believe humans would come. We were wrong to doubt. But I must tell you that your ships cannot stand against the swarm. Nothing can. We are preparing to evacuate the remaining survivors before the swarm consumes the planet entirely. How much time do you have? Lisa asked. 18 hours, Vex said, perhaps less. Lisa looked at Captain Cole. They both understood what this meant. They could not defend the planet itself, but they could buy time for evacuations. We will establish a defensive perimeter, Lisa said. Start your evacuations. We will hold the swarm back as long as possible. The human fleet took position between the advancing swarm and the planet. Colonel Sarah Bishop launched all available fighters. The ships moved toward the dark cloud at incredible speed. The swarm reacted. It was not a passive organism. When the human fighters attacked, the swarm responded with overwhelming force. Tendrils of corrupted matter extended from the cloud. They moved like tentacles with terrible purpose. The first wave of fighters opened fire with every weapon they had. Missiles struck the swarm. Energy weapons tore through the dark cloud. For a moment there was a reaction. The swarm seemed to recoil. Then it adapted. The swarm developed a shield of some kind. The energy weapons no longer damaged it effectively. The missiles still worked, but only if they hit directly. The swarm's surface seemed to harden to prepare for more attacks. Fall back, Sarah ordered. New tactics, do not get caught in those tendrils. One of the fighters did not fall back fast enough. A tendril wrapped around the small ship. The pilot, a young man named Harper, tried to escape, but the swarm pulled the fighter into its mass. The ship disappeared into the darkness. The screams of Harper came through on the communications channel for exactly 4 seconds before the signal ended. Sarah felt cold anger rise in her chest. This was what they were fighting. This was what they had come to stop. The human fleet took a different approach. Instead of direct combat, they established a perimeter. They used their larger ships to block the swarm's path. The ships were damaged, but they did not retreat. They held their position. Dr. Moore studied everything in real time. She watched how the swarm moved. She watched how it responded to human weapons. She watched how it adapted and learned. "The swarm is not infinitely adaptable," said to her team. "Look at the response pattern. It learns, yes, but it learns slowly. There is a delay between the attack and the adaptation. This organism is intelligent, but it is not fast-thinking like humans are." David looked at the data. The thermal readings show that the swarm is exothermic. It produces heat as it consumes matter. That heat is part of its energy process. If we could interrupt that process. "We need something that interferes with biological decomposition," said. She was working faster now, her mind moving through possibilities. "Something that breaks down the swarm's ability to convert matter into more of itself." She pulled up files about Earth's most aggressive organisms. Bacteria, fungi, decomposer species that lived in extreme environments. And then she saw it. A particular enzyme combination found in Earth's most hostile environments. "That is it," said. "That has to be it. We can synthesize this enzyme. We can make it in large quantities." But synthesizing it would take time they did not have. The evacuation of 7 continued. Ships loaded with refugees rose from the planet and moved toward the human fleet. There were thousands of ships, carrying millions of people from their doomed world. The swarm pressed forward, undeterred by the human fleet's presence. The northern continents fell completely. The central regions began to be consumed. Soon there would be nothing left but swarm. Then something unexpected happened. One of the human ships took critical damage and was about to be consumed by a tendril. But instead of retreating, the ship accelerated directly toward the swarm. The captain of that ship, a woman named Victoria Santos, had made a choice. "If I am going down, I am taking some of that thing with me," Victoria said on the communications channel. The ship exploded inside the swarm, creating a massive blast. The swarm recoiled. The tendril that had been about to grab another ship fell back. The other human captains understood what Victoria had done. She had bought them time. She had proven that the swarm could be hurt, that it could be pushed back. "This is not over," Captain Cole said over the communications channel to the entire fleet. "We are going to stop this thing. We are going to save these people. All of you hold your positions. Support the evacuations." The human fleet continued to fight. Ships that could not retreat were positioned to block the swarm's path. Dr. Moore had been working for 36 hours without sleep. Her team was exhausted. Her laboratory was a mess of equipment and biological samples, but she had made something that might actually work. The enzyme combination was now synthesized. Small batches had been created in the ship's biological labs. The formula was simple in theory but complex in execution. It was designed to disrupt the swarm's primary biological process. It would not kill the individual cells, but it would prevent them from connecting with each other. It would break the swarm's unified consciousness. "How much can we produce?" asked her team. David checked the manufacturing equipment. "We can make about 50 liters per hour, but we need a lot more than that to be effective against something as large as the swarm." "Then we need a delivery system," said. She was thinking out loud now, her mind working through the problem. "Something that can spread the enzyme across millions of kilometers. We need a dispersal unit, a massive one." She pulled up schematics for what they had available. Engineering had already started designing weapons, studied their plans, and suddenly saw something that might work. "The old colony dispersion ships," said. "The ones we use to seed new worlds. They are designed to spread material across entire planets. We can convert one to carry the enzyme. We can make it spread the enzyme as it travels through the swarm." Captain Cole heard the proposal and approved it immediately. "What do we need?" "One of the colony ships," said. "A pilot willing to fly it directly into the swarm, and time to load it with the enzyme and modify the dispersal systems." "How much time?" Cole asked. 8 hours, said. "Maybe less." "You have 6 hours," Cole said. "Give yourself a 1-hour buffer. We cannot stay here much longer. The swarm is moving faster now." The entire engineering section mobilized. They worked on a scale usually reserved for building entire ships. The old colony vessel, called the Resettlement, was brought into the main hangar. Its systems were stripped. Its dispersal mechanisms were converted to spray the enzyme instead of soil and seeds. Tanks were filled with the precious enzyme. Every drop was precious. Every minute of production time was critical. Scientists and engineers worked side by side, ignoring exhaustion and fear. Check the conversion personally. The Resettlement was an old ship built for peaceful purposes. It had never been designed for combat, but that actually made it perfect. Its dispersal mechanism could reach millions of kilometers. Its structure could hold enormous quantities of liquid. "It is ready," Torres said. The chief engineer was covered in sweat and biological sealant. "The ship can carry 5 million liters of the enzyme. Once activated, it will disperse the material in all directions as it travels." "What about the pilot?" asked. Nobody answered. The question hung in the air. Everyone knew what flying the Resettlement into the swarm meant. The pilot would have to navigate through the corruption itself. The pilot would have to reach the deep interior of the swarm to release the enzyme. The pilot would not be coming back. Captain Cole called for volunteers. He did not expect anyone to come forward. He did not expect a young officer to stand up and salute. Lieutenant Daniel Park was a skilled pilot. He had served in the fleet for 7 years. He had a family on Earth. He had a sister and an older brother. He had a father who was a teacher. He had a mother who painted pictures. "I will do it," Daniel said. His voice was steady. "I will fly the Resettlement. I will make sure the dispersal works." "You understand what this means?" Cole said. It was not a question, but a statement. "I understand," Daniel said. "The swarm will consume me and the ship, but before it does, the enzyme will spread. It will stop the swarm from destroying more worlds. It will save billions of lives." Looked at this young man and saw something that made her realize why she had left her safe research position to come to war. Some things mattered more than survival. Some things mattered more than safety. Some things mattered more than going home. The Resettlement was moved to the flight bay. Daniel conducted his pre-flight checks. He checked every system twice. He made sure the dispersal mechanism was functioning correctly. He made sure the enzyme tanks were secure. He did not write a goodbye letter. Instead, he sent a message to his family. He told them that he was proud to serve. He told them that what he was about to do would matter. He told them not to be sad because he was not scared. The message was sent to Earth on a secure channel. It would take weeks to arrive, but Daniel wanted his family to know that he had chosen this. He had not been forced. He had understood the price, and he had paid it gladly. 4 hours before the Resettlement launch, the swarm accelerated. It was moving faster. It was moving toward the fleet with new urgency. "We need to launch now," Cole said. "The swarm is reacting to our presence. It knows something is happening." Daniel climbed into the pilot's seat of the Resettlement. The ship felt strange. It felt heavy with purpose. He ran through the launch sequence. The engines powered up. The hangar doors opened. "Resettlement is clear of the bay," Daniel reported. "Clear to proceed," Cole confirmed. "May speed and courage guide you, Lieutenant." The Resettlement accelerated toward the swarm. Behind it, the human fleet provided covering fire. Fighters launched to give Daniel time and space. Ships took positions to defend the colony vessel's path. The swarm reacted immediately. Tendrils lashed out at the approaching ship. But the human fighters were ready. They intercepted the tendrils, destroying them or forcing them aside. Daniel pushed the Resettlement deeper into the darkness. The corruption surrounded him. The ship's sensors showed him the structure of the swarm, the organization of the billions of cells working in unison. He could feel the weight of it, the presence of something so large and so hungry, but he did not hesitate. "Reaching dispersal depth," Daniel reported. His voice remained calm, professional. "Beginning enzyme release in 30 seconds. "Roger that, Resettlement," Cole said. "You are a credit to humanity." 20 seconds, 10 seconds, 5 seconds. "Release," Daniel said. The tanks opened. Millions of liters of the enzyme began to spray out in all directions. The dispersal mechanism was designed to spread the material as far as possible. The enzyme cloud expanded rapidly, mixing with the swarm's biological matter. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the swarm began to react. Its unified consciousness started to break apart. The cells that made up the swarm could no longer communicate with each other. The organism that had seemed unstoppable began to fail. "It is working," said. Her voice was amazed. "The enzyme is working, the swarm is destabilizing." The resettlement was consumed by the swarm's dying mass. The ship was pulled apart, atom by atom, as the swarm's structure collapsed. But the enzyme had already done its work. "Rest easy, Daniel Park," Cole said quietly. The swarm stopped expanding. It began to contract. The corruption that had consumed worlds started to the swarm died slowly. The enzyme spread through its body like poison. The unified consciousness that had driven it to consume worlds began to fracture. Individual cells stopped responding to the collective will. Organization collapsed into chaos. Within 12 hours, the necrosis swarm was completely inactive. It hung in space like a corpse, no longer a threat, no longer alive in any meaningful sense. Captain Cole ordered the fleet to maintain distance and observe. They needed to be certain. They needed to confirm that the threat was truly gone. Scientists on the resettlement and other research vessels used scanners to analyze the dead swarm. The enzyme had worked perfectly. The biological process that gave the swarm consciousness had been interrupted. The organism was dead. The news spread through the fleet like fire. Soldiers heard it first through command channels, then through word of mouth. The swarm was dead. Humanity had won. They had achieved what no other species in the galaxy could do. But the victory was not celebrated with cheers or loud noise. The price of that victory was still being counted. The casualty reports came in steadily. The ship Victoria Santos had commanded was lost with all hands. 53 fighter pilots had not returned from their missions. 2 destroyer escorts had been critically damaged and were being towed to safety by repair ships. One of those ships would not survive the journey. 37 crew members died on the flight deck when a tendril had crashed through the hull. Dr. Moore read the casualty lists in her laboratory. Each name was a person. Each name represented a family that would receive a notification from Earth's government. Each name represented someone who had left home to help strangers and would not come home to see their families again. She thought of Daniel Park, the young pilot who had flown the resettlement into the swarm's heart. His sacrifice was the most direct. He had known he would not survive. He had done it anyway. Sent a message to Daniel's family. The message took time to compose. She wrote it carefully, choosing each word. She told them that their son had been brave. She told them that his actions had saved billions of lives. She told them that the galaxy would remember him as a hero. But she knew that none of that would bring him home. None of that would comfort a mother who had lost her son. None of that would ease the pain his family would feel for years. Commander Lisa stood on the observation deck looking at the dead swarm. Around her, officers worked at their stations, sending reports back to Earth, coordinating with the Federation, managing the fleet's movements. They were responding to the news. High Commander Vex sent a message that was difficult to translate. The crystalline alien seemed confused by what had happened. He seemed unable to comprehend that humans had succeeded where the advanced civilizations of the galaxy had failed. "The swarm is destroyed," Vex said in his message. "You have done this. You have saved us. I do not understand how this is possible. We have weapons that humans do not possess. We have technology older than your species. Yet you accomplished what we could not." Lisa understood why Vex was confused. They had always believed that advanced technology and ancient knowledge were the most important things in the galaxy. They had never considered that a harsh environment might teach harder lessons than any academy could. Humanity came from Earth, a world where everything wanted to kill you. The gravity was heavy. The radiation was constant. The weather was violent. Predators hunted. Diseases spread. Food was scarce. And in that harsh environment, humans had learned to adapt, to improvise, to think in ways that went around problems instead of just pushing through them. They had expected a certain kind of help. They had expected human ships to bombard the swarm with weapons. They had expected human soldiers to die in frontal assaults. They had not expected a young pilot to understand that you could kill an organism by disabling its communications network instead of its body. Lisa composed a message to the Federation. She kept it simple. She said that the fleet was prepared to begin clearing the contaminated zones and helping with recovery efforts. She said that humanity stood ready to provide technological assistance and medical support to any species affected by the swarm. And she asked a question. Would the Galactic Council reconsider its position on humanity's place in galactic society? The response came back within hours. The Federation wanted to hold a formal council meeting. All the major species would attend. They wanted to discuss humanity's future in the galaxy. Meanwhile, the work of recovery had begun. The contaminated zones around the swarm were being surveyed. Colonies were being assessed for damage. Survivors were being located and relocated to safe worlds. It would take months, maybe years, to fully repair the damage. The human fleet stayed in the Federation space. They provided medical support. They shared technology for decontamination. They worked alongside the aliens who had once rejected them. One officer, a military commander named, came aboard a human ship to observe their medical facilities. Was not humanoid like some aliens. He was more like a mobile insect, with 4 legs and multiple arms. His translator made him sound like clicking insect sounds converted to human speech. "Your medical technology is less advanced than ours," said. It was not an insult. It was an observation. "Yet you save more lives than our facilities save. How is this possible?" Dr. Moore, who had finally gotten some rest, was showing around. "Our medicine is not based on prevention," she said. "It is based on treatment. We treat people who are sick or injured because people on Earth became sick and injured constantly. We learned to keep people alive no matter what damage they had. Your medicine is designed for healthy populations. Our medicine is designed for broken ones." Seemed to contemplate this. "This is why the swarm could not adapt to your enzyme," he said. "Your medicine did not try to prevent the swarm from existing. It simply broke what the swarm needed to stay alive." "Exactly," said. "We did not go around the problem, we went through it." The days passed. The casualty notifications were sent to families on Earth. Funerals were held on multiple worlds. The sacrifice was remembered and it was real. But so was the gratitude. So was the knowledge that humanity had stood when others might have fallen. The fleet slowly repaired their ships. Damaged systems were replaced. Weapons were reloaded, and the crews waited for the Galactic Council's decision. Lisa received a transmission from Earth. Her daughter Emma had recorded a message. The 5-year-old girl did not fully understand what had happened, but she understood that her mother had helped people. "Everyone at school says you are a hero," Emma said on the recording. Her voice was small and precious. "Are you coming home soon?" Lisa saved the message. She played it later in her private quarters. She did not cry, but she felt the weight of what she had chosen. She had been gone for so long. Emma was growing up without her. But Emma was also growing up in a galaxy where humans were not second-class citizens anymore. Emma would grow up in a galaxy that remembered that when others called for help, humanity answered. That was worth something. The swarm's dead body was eventually collected and studied. The enzyme had changed it, broke the Galactic Council chamber was ancient. It had existed for millions of years. Representatives from hundreds of species had stood in this place and debated the future of the galaxy. Now it was humanity's turn to stand and be judged. The chamber itself was a marvel of alien architecture. The ceiling stretched so high it seemed to touch the sky. The walls were made of a material that reflected light in colors humans did not have names for. Representatives stood on platforms designed for their specific body types. Some floated. Some were submerged in water tanks. Some stood on their natural legs. Commander Lisa entered the chamber with Captain Cole and Dr. Moore. They wore their uniforms with pride. Behind them, the chamber filled with observers. Species from across the galaxy came to witness this moment. High Commander Vex called the session to order. The crystalline alien's voice rang through the chamber with authority. "We gather to address the actions of humanity during the crisis of the Necrosis swarm," Vex said. The fleet, composed of ships and personnel from the planet Earth, responded to the desperate call of the Federation. They engaged an enemy that had destroyed civilizations. They prevented the extinction of our people, and they did this despite previous rejection from the Galactic Council. The chamber was silent. "The Federation proposes that humanity be granted full membership in the Galactic Council," Vex continued. "The proposes that humanity be recognized as a worthy member of galactic society. The proposes that humanity's actions today be remembered for all time." Other representatives stepped forward. The species, which had also lost colonies to the swarm, expressed their support. The Empire, which had been on the edge of total collapse, spoke in favor of humanity. Even some species that had been skeptical of human abilities now came forward with their support. The vote was unanimous. Humanity was welcome in the Galactic Council. Earth would have a place at the table of worlds. The door that had been closed for 15 years was suddenly completely open. Lisa was asked to speak. She stepped to the center of the chamber. She felt the weight of millions of eyes on her. She felt the responsibility of representing her entire species. "We came because you called," Lisa said. Her voice was steady. "We came because people were suffering. We came because that is what humans do. On our world, we have learned that life does not come easily. We have learned that strength comes from protecting those weaker than ourselves. We have learned that compassion is not weakness. It is the strongest thing we possess." Lisa looked around the chamber at the diverse beings gathered there. "We do not ask for special treatment because of what we did. We ask only for the chance to work alongside all of you. We ask for the chance to learn from your knowledge. We ask for the chance to share what Earth has taught us. We are not primitive. We are not dangerous. We are simply humans, and we are ready to help build a better future for the entire galaxy." The chamber erupted in response. Not with loud noise, because different species made different sounds, but with expressions of approval that filled the ancient space. Captain Cole was recognized for his military leadership. They awarded him their highest military commendation. Cole accepted it with a nod, understanding that the real credit belonged to those who had died under his command. Dr. Moore was invited to establish a research facility in space. The Federation wanted her to develop new medical technologies and biological treatments. Accepted immediately. She saw an opportunity to push the boundaries of science. But the greatest honor went to Lieutenant Daniel Park. Even though he was gone, his sacrifice was remembered. They announced that they would establish a memorial to all those who had died fighting the swarm. The memorial would be named in Daniel Park's honor. It would stand for 10,000 years, a reminder of the price of protecting others. A message was sent to Daniel's family on Earth. His mother received notification that her son had been awarded the Galactic Medal of Honor. His father was told that Lieutenant Daniel Park had become a hero to billions of beings across the galaxy. His siblings learned that their brother's name would be remembered forever. On Earth, the news spread like wildfire. Humans had not just survived first contact with an advanced alien civilization. Humans had saved that civilization. The entire planet celebrated. Schools created lessons about the fleet. Children wanted to join the military and become like Lisa or Cole. But there was also sorrow. 3,000 human soldiers and crew members had not come home. Their families mourned. Their loved ones wore memorial clothes and gathered in places to remember. The price of glory was real, and it was paid in human life. The fleet began the journey home. The ships were damaged but still functional. The crew was tired but satisfied. They had done what they set out to do. Lisa spent time in the crew quarters talking with soldiers. She listened to their stories of the battle. She heard about their friends who had died. She acknowledged their pain. One soldier, a young woman named, came to speak with Lisa privately. "Do you think it was worth it?" asked. "My partner was killed in the final attack. She was standing next to me when the tendril hit. She died so that people could live. Do you think that was worth it?" Lisa did not lie. She did not try to make feel better with empty words. "I do not know," Lisa said. "I know that your partner made a choice. She chose to stand on that deck. She chose to take that risk. I know that because of her sacrifice, 3 million people lived who would have died. But I also know that you have lost someone you loved. That loss is real. That pain is real. And no number of saved lives will bring your partner back." Nodded, tears ran down her face, but she stood straight. "Thank you for being honest," said. "I just needed to hear someone say it." The fleet approached Earth after 3 months of travel. They had left as an exploratory force. They were returning as saviors of galactic civilization. Ships lined up in orbit around the planet. Millions of people looked up at the sky and saw their heroes returning. The landing was massive. Ships came down to military bases on every continent. Soldiers stepped out onto the soil of their home world. Some of them fell to their knees and cried. Some of them ran to their families waiting at the gates. Lisa was the last to leave her ship. She walked down the landing ramp slowly. At the bottom, a little girl was waiting. Emma was 7 years old now. The mission had taken longer than expected. Lisa had missed more birthdays. Emma did not run to her mother. She stood still and looked at Lisa carefully, as if trying to remember what her mother looked like. Lisa knelt down and looked at her daughter's face. "Hello, Emma," Lisa said. "I am home." Emma threw her arms around her mother's neck. She did not speak. She just held on as if she would never let go. Around the landing zone, soldiers were reunited with their families. Parents hugged children. Partners embraced each other. The pain of separation and loss was mixed with the joy of return. Captain Cole was invited to speak before the United Nations. He stood before world leaders and told them what had happened. He told them about Daniel Park and Victoria Santos. He told them about the sacrifice and the victory. He told them that humanity had found its place in the galaxy. "We are not the strongest species," Cole said. "We are not the most advanced. We do not have the oldest technology, but we have something that other species have forgotten. We have the ability to see a problem and find a solution that no one else could see. We have compassion that drives us to help others even when we might be rejected. We have the willingness to sacrifice for a greater good." The world celebrated. Parades were held in cities across every continent. Daniel Park's family was honored at ceremonies. Lisa was asked to return to the Galactic Council and take a permanent diplomatic position. But the most important moment came on a quiet evening at Lisa's home. She sat in her backyard with Emma, looking at the stars. "They live up there?" Emma asked. "Yes," Lisa said. "Many species live up there. They are our neighbors now." "Will you go back?" Emma asked. The question was small, but it carried weight. Lisa was quiet for a moment. "Yes," she said finally. "Probably, but not for a long time. I am going to spend time with you first. We have a lot of time to make up for." Emma nodded and took her mother's hand. In space, the fleet was being repaired and upgraded. New ships were being built. New soldiers were training. Humanity was preparing for its role in galactic society. Dr. Moore was in her laboratory in space, developing new treatments. Her work would save countless lives across hundreds of species. But she never forgot the enzyme that had killed the swarm. She never forgot that sometimes the simplest solution, born from understanding a harsh world, was the most effective. And on every world, in every species, the story was told. The story of how the humans answered a desperate call. The story of how beings from a harsh planet called Earth had saved the galaxy. The story of courage and sacrifice and the power of compassion. Humanity was no longer alone. Humanity was no longer rejected. Humanity was home in a galaxy full of wonder and danger and possibility. The door to the stars had opened, and humanity, with all its flaws and all its strengths, had stepped through it. The age of humanity and the galaxy had begun. And it down into inert matter. Scientists from multiple species worked together to understand what had happened, to learn from the encounter. And in the medical bays of the fleet, the survivors of 7 and other worlds received treatment. 3 million who would have died now lived. They received care from human doctors. They received medicine from human facilities. They survived because humans had come to help. The sacrifice had purchased salvation. Break apart, the cells, now unable to function as a unified organism, became inert. The fleet held their position and watched as the necrosis swarm died. Fighters attacked from all angles. The swarm was slowed, not stopped, but slowed enough. By the time the last evacuation ship left 7, the planet had been mostly consumed. But 3 million people had survived. 3 million lives that would otherwise have been lost. The human fleet regrouped and moved away from the planet. The swarm followed, but it did not seem to be accelerating. Captain Cole realized that the swarm might not be designed for unlimited expansion. It might have limits. It might be vulnerable. "Send a message to Dr. Moore," Cole ordered. "Tell her we have 18 hours. Tell her to make that enzyme work. We are going to need it." The swarm continued to advance through space, and the fleet continued to retreat, buying time with every sacrifice. Put her hand on shoulder. "We are going to stop this swarm. We are going to save those colonies, and some of us are going to go home to our mothers and tell them what we did." The fleet moved toward the Federation at maximum speed. The vast darkness of space seemed to welcome them. The stars watched, and in the infected zones ahead, the necrosis swarm continued its endless consumption, unaware that something new was coming to fight it. "No," Lisa said. She turned back to face the table. "We go because people are dying right now, right this moment. They rejected us, and that was wrong of them. But that does not make it right for us to let them die when we have the power to help." "The government will not authorize this," said. "They will say it is not our war." "Then we ask them," Lisa said. We tell them what we have found. We tell them that a biological plague is consuming alien worlds. We tell them that this plague will reach human space eventually. And we tell them that humanity has a choice right now. We can turn away from those who are suffering, or we can answer their call. Had been quiet the whole time. Now he spoke. They will remember who helped them. If we do this, it will change everything. Earth will not be seen as primitive anymore. We will be seen as the ones who stood up when it mattered. Lisa nodded. Make the call to Earth, send all the data, and prepare the fleet for a long journey. If the government says yes, we will need to move fast. Cole stood up. I will ready the weapons systems and the engineering teams. If we are going to fight a plague, we need to know what works and what does not. The conference room emptied as officers went to their stations. Lisa returned to the observation deck and looked at the stars again. She did not know what would happen next, but she knew that her daughter Emma would grow up in a galaxy shaped by what humanity did in the next few hours. The choice was clear. Humanity would answer the call.